Millions of UK retirees are being told their income may rise again in April. Just as food, energy, rent, and care bills remain painfully high, 7% state pension increase sounds simple. More money each week, more breathing room each month. And for households living close to the edge, that matters. But there is a number hidden inside this rise, £35. That is the estimated gap between the full new state pension and the annual personal allowance, the line where income tax begins. Let that land. A rise meant to protect pensioners could also move them closer to the tax system. By the end, you will understand how the triple lock works, who gains, and why this increase is not as straightforward as it first sounds. April 2026. Across the United Kingdom, the state pension is expected to move again under the triple lock, 5%. This time, the key figure is average earnings, 7%, putting pensioners on course for another increase. The subject is not one single payment. It is the UK state pension split between the full new state pension for those under the newer system and the older basic state pension paid to retirees who reached pension age under previous rules. 0.5 a week, 75 a week for pensioners facing higher bills. That increase is not theoretical. It is food, heating, transport, and care. And the government's signal is on record, so the promise is being kept. But the system is now sending another signal too. Pension income is rising while the tax threshold remains frozen. That warning was visible before April arrived. The triple lock was not built as a bonus scheme. It was built as a guardrail. 5%. If prices rise fastest, pensions follow prices. If wages rise fastest, pensions follow workers. 5% floor still applies. That design matters because the state pension is not just another government payment. For millions of retirees, it is the base layer of income. Once someone has left work, they cannot simply negotiate a higher salary when food, rent, energy, or care costs move against them. The opposing argument is serious. A guarantee like this becomes expensive, especially when public finances are already under pressure. The government has to fund every automatic rise year after year, but the purpose of the mechanism was to stop a different problem: pensioners being slowly detached from the economy around them. If wages climb and pensions do not, retirees fall behind workers. If prices climb and pensions do not, purchasing power is stripped away. That is why this April's rise is not random generosity. It is the formula doing exactly what it was designed to do. 8%. September's inflation figure still has to confirm the final calculation, but the evidence points one way. Wages are leading, and that turns a political promise into a financial consequence. Start with the older basic state pension, 75, 30 a week. Across a full year, it adds roughly £430. For someone using that payment as the floor under rent, food, energy, and council tax, £430 is not symbolic. It is cash arriving every week through the same system without a new application. Now move to the full new state pension. 25 a week, 0.5 a week, 80 more each week, or roughly £613 extra over a year. And here is the mystery number, £12,535. That is what the full new state pension would be worth annually if this estimate holds. Let that land for a second, because the personal allowance, the point where income tax begins, is £12,570. So the full new state pension would sit only about £35 below the tax line. That is the hidden tension inside the good news. The rise helps pensioners deal with higher costs, but because the personal allowance is frozen until 2028, the tax threshold does not move with it. Helen Morrissey, head of retirement analysis at Hargreaves Lansdown, warned that any other income could tip retirees into tax. A small workplace pension, savings interest, a few hours of part-time work, the increase lifts pensioners up. The frozen threshold pulls the tax line closer. That is the pattern now becoming impossible to ignore. Margaret is 72, a widow in Manchester, and she built her retirement around one belief: the state pension would not make her comfortable, but it would keep her steady. She receives the full new state pension, so when she hears that April could bring around £613 more over the year, she does not dismiss it. She counts it. 80 a week. Let that land. In Margaret's kitchen, that number is not abstract policy. It is part of of the gas bill. It is a grocery basket that has shrunk in size but not in price. It is bus fares, council tax, dental costs, and the small expenses that do not make headlines because they arrive one receipt at a time. The government is right to say the triple lock protects pensioners from being left behind. 7% rise is real money, especially for someone on a fixed income, but the structure around that rise is tighter than it first appears. If Margaret has a small private pension from years of work or savings interest from money she was careful enough to keep aside, the frozen tax threshold may take a bite she did not expect. And Margaret's budget does not stop at her front door. Her pension is spent in the local pharmacy, the corner shop, the taxi to appointments, the cafe where widows meet on Thursdays, and the carers who help households stay independent. When pension income changes, high streets feel it. So this is not only a pensioner story, it is your parent, your grandparent, your neighbor, and eventually your future self. Because the next question is not just how much rises, it is how much remains. 0.5 a week, £12,535 a year, and a tax-free personal allowance still frozen at £12,570 until 2028. That is the loop, 5%. 7% is currently the key number. So pension income rises, but the tax threshold does not move with it. The result is quiet pressure. Pensioners move closer to income tax without Parliament needing to announce a new tax rise. Let that land. The full new state pension would sit just £35 below the personal allowance. Now, the strongest argument for the triple lock is not hard to understand. Pensioners are not startups. They cannot simply grow revenue next quarter. They often live on fixed incomes, face higher health and care costs, and need protection when wages or prices move faster than their weekly payment. That argument is real, but the data shows the collision. 7% rise helps pensioners pay today's bills. At the same time, it pushes the full new state pension almost directly into a frozen tax line. Add a small workplace pension, savings interest, or part-time earnings, and the system begins taking back part of the increase through fiscal drag. The rise protects income. The freeze captures it. For government, the same loop cuts both ways. 5% boost this April, but frozen tax bans also raise revenue quietly as incomes rise. Politically, the promise is simple. Financially, the machinery is not. For Margaret, April may bring relief. A higher weekly payment could cover part of the bill pressure, but it may also move her closer to tax codes, HMRC letters, and choices she thought retirement would protect her from. This is not just her story. From Manchester and Birmingham to Glasgow, Cardiff, Belfast, rural villages, and coastal retirement towns, the same pattern is emerging. Fixed incomes rising into costs that rise faster and thresholds that do not move. The triple lock is real protection, but frozen allowances change what that protection feels like. A bigger pension can still leave a smaller margin. Before April arrives, check your pension forecast, understand your tax code, and ask your MP what happens when the triple lock meets a frozen personal allowance. Should the government raise the personal allowance for pensioners, or is the triple lock enough? Tell me in the comments. Subscribe for clear breakdowns of pension, benefit, and tax changes before they hit your bank account. Like this video so more people who need this warning actually see it. Next, we'll look at the hidden DWP and HMRC letters pensioners must not ignore. Thanks for watching, and take care.